The 7 Years' War was one of the first wars to be fought on a global scale. While the old European powers had once been contained to fighting on the continent, with the rise of colonialism, these conflicts were diffused to West Africa, the Philippines, India, and North America. The North American theater was fought chiefly for possession of Canada and the Northwest Territory, which is now the upper Mississippi and the southern shores of the Great Lakes. Throughout the first half of the 1700s, both the British and French had steadily seized native land, though neither side had formalized any of their claims to those territories. By 1750, the situation was chaotic. Various alliances with native forces led to hostilities between the British, the French, and their Indian allies. In 1754, British Lieutenant Colonel George Washington led a campaign to attempt to expel the French from the Ohio Valley. Now, while this campaign was a dismal failure, it ignited what was once a small-scale conflict into a full-blown war. Over the next 5 years, Britain, France, and each side's native allies engaged in a bitter fight for the region. Despite a number of setbacks, the British slowly began to turn the tide in their favor. The last site of French resistance, Quebec, still remained, and if they were to take Canada, they would have to control the city. During the war, the French had been busy fortifying it, forcing the modest British invading force under General James Wolfe to attempt an amphibious assault against a fairly formidable artillery position. Now, to prepare for this assault, Wolfe set up cannon batteries across the river from the city in hopes of softening its defenses. Now, several probing attacks by Wolfe on the north side of the St. Lawrence were unsuccessful. Both French General Louis Montcalm and French-Canadian Governor Pierre Vaudreuil began to rest easy in the thought that the British would be unable to take the city and the surrounding countryside. Wolfe spent the summer burning villages, manors, and homes around the city in hopes of cutting off the French supply routes. However, by late summer, Wolfe felt that his initiative was losing momentum and that he would have to make a decisive attack by the end of September. As he wrote in a letter to his mother, "The Marquis of Montcalm is at the head of a great number of bad soldiers, and I am at the head of a small number of good ones that wish for nothing so much as to fight him. But the wary old fellow avoids any action, doubtful of the behavior of his army." Eventually, Wolfe did decide on landing his forces upriver from Quebec, choosing a cove called L'Anse à Follon, which was several kilometers upstream from the city. The site was situated at the base of a high cliff guarded by a small garrison and a battery of guns. And while the bulk of Wolfe's troops prepared on ships anchored in the river, a small force would secretly come ashore and take the garrison, allowing the British to land and proceed to the city. Wolfe's hope was to draw Montfort out of the city where the two sides could engage in a decisive battle on the 13th of September. Now, such a deployment was risky, as French forces were located both upriver as well as in Quebec, which lay downriver. And if the tide of battle went against him, Wolfe would have no choice but to have to evacuate across the St. Lawrence. Luckily, the plan worked, and he was able to get his forces onto the north shore and up onto the plateau. He then arrayed them on a broad plain just west of the city, known locally as the Plain of Abraham. Now, this was named after Abraham Martin, the farmer that owned the land. Now, despite the fact that he could have surrounded the British if he'd waited, Montcalm rashly chose to gather his forces and directly confront Wolfe, feeling that it was better to eliminate the enemy before they had a chance to dig in. With his European training, Montcalm was prepared for a large set-piece battle, with a number of disciplined maneuvers. And he did have the advantage in numbers, nearly double Wolfe's forces, but the war had worn his forces of regulars thin, and the French army was now composed of a large number of militia, who, despite their skills at frontier fighting, were unsuited for this type of formal warfare. Wolfe formed a nearly 1-kilometer line perpendicular to the river, with 2 additional battalions facing north to guard the left flank. And despite several minor skirmishes, the British line, which was 2 soldiers deep, held and waited for the onslaught of Montcalm's forces. Wolfe ordered his troops to hold fire until the French troops were within 30 meters. And at 10 a.m., Montcalm began to move forward, peppering the British with loose volleys. As they neared the British line, Wolfe's men fired, then moved forward and fired a second time. And this had the desired effect and sent the French back. Within moments of the first command to fire, Wolfe was struck in the stomach and chest. And as he fell, a soldier near Wolfe shouted, "They run! See how they run!" Wolfe, on the ground, opened his eyes and asked who was running. Upon being told that the French were routed, he gave several orders, then turned on his side and said, "Now God be praised, I will die in peace," and promptly expired. Momentarily leaderless, the British forces briefly fell into disorder, with many of the troops choosing to break rank and chase the fleeing French. At the same time, French forces under Louis de Bougainville, who'd been arriving from the west, began to surround the British. Brigadier General George Townshend was, however, able to save the day and restore order before the tide of battle turned against him. Bougainville retreated while Montcalm's forces fled. Now, while attempting to rally his routed troops, Montcalm, one of the few mounted soldiers on the battlefield, was struck in the lower abdomen and thigh. and he was able to ride back to the city but collapsed on his return and died early the next morning. The British had suffered 658 casualties, that was 61 killed and 597 wounded. The French had about 1,100 casualties, with 116 killed, 600 wounded, and 350 captured. Now, after a brief siege, the city of Quebec fell to the British. Throughout the following winter, however, scurvy ravaged the British garrison stationed there. The following April, the French met them in another engagement at the Battle of St. Foy, which was a much bloodier, though less well-known battle than the Plains of Abraham. The British then retreated back into Quebec, which was subsequently besieged by the French. However, the French, who remained heavily reliant on supplies coming from Europe, were forced to break off the siege after the French Navy was defeated at Quiberon Bay, just off the coast of France. On September 8th of 1760, just a few days shy of the one-year anniversary of Wolfe's attack on Quebec, the French surrendered in Montreal. Britain had now gained control of Canada, the Great Lakes region, and all French land from the Mississippi River to the Appalachian Mountains. And while it greatly expanded British control of the Americas, the financial cost of the war was immense. The only way to defray some of this debt was to raise taxes on the American colonies, which would have a more profound effect on the world a decade and a half later. So this week's game is Quebec 1759. It was designed by Steve Brewster, Tom Dalglish, and Lance Guttridge, and it was published by Columbia Games in 1972. Now the game has this interesting map board, and the map's divided into land and water areas. Now the land areas consist of 10 zones, which are connected by black lines that represent roads, and the St. Lawrence is divided into 2 areas, which are separated by the broken line crossing the river near the middle of the map board. The game contains 25 red British units and 25 blue French units, which represent the regiments, militia, Indians, and ships involved in the fight for control of Quebec during the French-Indian War. Now each unit has a combat value, or CV, and these are those declining series of small squares around the edge, and they range from 4 CV to 1. And this varies with quantity and class that troops represent. And now ships don't have these as they don't participate in combat and they can't be eliminated. Now in the physical game, these units are on blocks and they're stood on edge, and the label identification faces the owning player, and this prevents opponents from seeing enemy unit strengths or types. And it's set up to portray the fog of war conditions in a fairly simple manner. Now ships are placed face up on the map board. Units are designated by their step reductions. Each unit begins play with its maximum combat value along the top edge of the unit, and this initial combat value remains constant until it's reduced in battle. To record damage on it, you turn the unit until its new lesser CV lies at the top. Now units reduced below 1 CV are eliminated. Now combat values may be transferred between units in the same zone by reducing one unit and increasing another of the same amount. And this has to be done before orders are revealed for any campaign move, never after. And any units involved in a transfer may still move during that turn. Also, both players have several 1 CV units, and these are detachments that function like other infantry units in all respects and function chiefly as decoy units in the game. To set the game up, you would deploy all units on the map board at their maximum CV, and units are located on or near a zone name to indicate position. There's no stacking limitations, and there can be any number of units in any zone at any time. The British player deploys all of their units on the Ile d'Orléans and all their ships on the Basson. The French player deploys all of their units in as many or as few of the 9 remaining zones as they wish. There's 16 turns in the game, and players get only 1 move per turn, which they can use to make a land movement, make a ship movement, or make an amphibious movement. Now note that moving is optional, but it can't be saved for use in later turns. And before these moves are carried out, each player chooses an order, and both players' moves are revealed simultaneously. They then have to make those ordered moves. Now, when units of opposing players end up in the same zone, a battle occurs which must be resolved before the next turn. Orders are pretty simple. Each order has the following information: the zone of origin, the number of units to be moved, and the destination zone. And note that when a player has a choice of units to fulfill their order, they may send whichever units they wish to. Now, all units in one zone are called a group, and a group can move from one zone to another adjacent zone along a connecting road. A single group can split, and they can move into more than one zone during a turn, but only one group can be activated for a movement in a turn. Now, 5 of the 10 zones on the map board, namely the Ile d'Orléans, Lévis, St. Charles, Beauport, and Montmorency, all border the Basson River area. The remaining zones, except St. Foy, which is landlocked, all border the Saint Laurent River area. And note that Quebec City is not a zone, and Abraham does not border on the Basson. Now, a group of units can cross the river from and to any region in the same river area, and they can move to any non-adjacent zones bordering that river zone. However, they can't move to zones adjacent to the other river region. And while both sides can make amphibious movement, the number of units that can move in a group is dependent on the number of British ships in the river region. The French player can never make amphibious moves between zones in the Vassal area, and they can move a maximum of 4 units in the Saint-Laurent area. Now this maximum decreases by 1 unit for every British naval unit located in the Saint-Laurent area until all 4 ships are upriver. At that point, the French player can make no amphibious moves. Now the British player can move 1 army unit amphibiously for every naval unit in that area. Thus, with 3 ships in the Basalt, say in this case 1 naval unit had moved upriver, a maximum of 3 units could move amphibiously between zones in the Basalt area. Now it's possible that a group could use both amphibious and land movement in the same turn. Now ships can move from one area to another with this counting as a full move, and only 2 ships can move upriver in a turn, that is Basalt to Saint-Laurent. However, any number of ships can move downstream in a move, and army units may not accompany ships moving up or down river. Both sides have one leader, Montcalm for the French and Wolfe for the British, and these leaders function like other infantry units, but also have 2 special powers. A leader can move 1 or 2 zones by land movement, and each time a leader is in a battle, they roll 2 die. On a double 6, they score 2 hits, but that leader is killed in battle. Now, battles can occur in one of 3 ways. The first is when one player moves units to a zone containing enemy units, or both players move to a zone which already contained units of one player, and the player with the units already in the zone is the defender. Second, both players can move units to the same empty zone, and the French player is always the defender in such a battle. And third, both players can move units to a zone that the other player is leaving, and the battle is fought in the zone from which the weaker force came, measured in units, or, if both forces are equal in number, in the zone of the French player's choice. Now, 2 or more battles in different zones may occur at the same time, and when this happens, the French player decides in which order the battles will be fought. When battles occur, the defender removes their units from the map and places them in the 3 columns on the battle board, and this is done so that the opponent cannot see these units. And there may be any number of units in any one column, but there must always be at least 1 unit in each column. Also, any number of units can be deployed in the reserve behind these columns. The attacker now deploys their units in the 3 opposing columns, and they can leave units in reserve as well. Now, the defender may not alter their deployment while the attacker is deploying. Both players then reveal their units deployed in columns by tilting them forward face up, so that the current CVs of units face the opposing columns. However, reserve units, if any, are not revealed at this time. And once a battle commences, players are not allowed to redeploy units in columns. Only units in reserve, and only 1 reserve unit per battle turn, can be redeployed in this manner. Now, battles are fought to conclusion in an indeterminate number of battle turns, and each turn is resolved in the following sequence. First, the defender has the option to retreat, and then the defender may add 1 unit from their reserve to any 1 column of their choice. Third, the defender may then fire all of their units in 3 columns, 1 unit at a time, and 1 column at a time, and they can do this in any order that they choose. The attacker then repeats these steps in the same sequence, retreating or deploying from reserve, and firing units as they wish. And this battle turn sequence is repeated until 1 player decides to retreat, or until 1 player is routed. After the battle ends, the surviving units are turned back on their edge at their current levels and placed back on the map board. Now, only units deployed in battle columns may fire. Reserve units can't fire or be fired on. And units in one column may always fire at units in the opposing column, except during pursuit fire. Firing is fairly simple. A unit fired by noting its current CV and rolling the same number of dice. For every 6 thrown on the die, a unit in the opposite enemy column is immediately reduced by 1 CV, and the owner always decides which unit or units will be reduced. Now, if the attacker decides to retreat, they may do so as early as the beginning of the first combat round, and this must be done before any combat occurs. Both players may retreat before combat at the beginning of any round thereafter. Now, all units involved in the battle must be retreated. Attackers must retreat back into the zone that they came from. However, defenders may retreat into an adjacent zone not occupied by an enemy unit, even the one that the attacker came from. And if there's no zones to retreat into, retreating units must remain in the battle. Now, when all units in a single column are eliminated, the player routs all of their units engaged in the battle, and this includes units held in reserve. The fleeing units are moved to an adjacent zone, just as you would do during retreat. And if they're unable to move into a zone that's free of enemy units, then the retreating units are eliminated. The victorious player also gets the chance to fire a parting shot at the routing units. To do this, you roll 1 die for every unit in the victorious unit's forces on the battlefield, and you apply the results. And the routed player has to take pursuit fire casualties on any units that they wish. Now, if the routed unit has any units in reserve when the rout occurs, 1 pursuit fire hit is ignored for every 2 CV rounded up in reserve. Now, when a player attacks by C-move, the defender in the battle or skirmish fires each of their deployed units at double CV, double the number of dice on their first battle turn. Thereafter, normal battle procedures followed. Now, if any or all of the defender's units are moved to the battle zone also by C-move in the same turn, these units don't receive that advantage. Now, players can also retreat by amphibious movement, but the number of units involved may not exceed the maximum for legal amphibious moves. In addition, an amphibious retreat involves pursuit fire from the victorious player for retreat and a double pursuit fire if they're routed. Now, if one or both players have less than 3 units in a battle zone, thus preventing the 3-column deployment, then the battle columns and reserves are ignored, and players deploy in a single skirmish column, exchanging fire as normal. Retreats are conducted as before, but there can't be any rout and no pursuit fire, unless an amphibious retreat's involved. Now, the St. Charles River is a good line of defense, and to reflect this terrain obstacle, any land moved from the St. Lawrence to Abraham, or vice versa, are treated as an amphibious attack retreat, except there's no limitation on the number of army units that can be moved. During the game, Wolfe can exploit a tendency for the French militia to desert by issuing a proclamation that he will destroy all crops and farms. To reflect this, the French player has to remove 1 Quebec militia unit of any CV for every zone occupied, for the first time, by the British player, except for Ile-de-Orléans. And this loss is effective immediately, but only as long as there are Quebec militia still in play. Now, the French are dependent on supplies from Montreal, and to reflect this, if the British player occupies the Cap Rouge zone, the French player must eliminate 1 Montreal Trois-Rivières militia unit at the end of every campaign move after combat's occurred. And this penalty begins with the next move and lasts until there's no more Montreal Trois-Rivières militia units in play. Now, the native Ottawa Indian units have the following special options and restrictions. If the French player wishes to move the Ottawa unit, it can be moved to any zone on the map. However, it's the only unit that can be moved in that turn. The Ottawa unit can also conduct raids in its destination zone, and this is done by immediately attacking once at double the number of dice, and then immediately retreating to any zone not occupied by British units and not a battle zone. Now, the British player can return fire, not doubled, only with the light infantry or American Ranger units if they're present. However, casualties inflicted by the Ottawa Indian unit may be taken on any units of the British player's choice. Now, the Ottawa unit may also scout the destination zone, but not raid in the same move. And to do this, up to 4 British units in the zone, chosen by the French player or at random, are revealed. The Ottawa unit may then retreat to any zone and not be attacked. Now, the Ottawa Indian units may not be deployed in a battle column. They must be kept in reserve, but they get double the number of dice in pursuit fire if their rout occurs. The Ottawa unit can also be used in a skirmish, fighting as a single CV but never by itself. And if the Ottawa unit retreats, it's not subject to pursuit fire. If it's reduced to 1 CV, or if the total French strength falls below 10 CV total, then the Ottawa unit retires from the game immediately. Now, to win the game, the British have to hold the Abraham zone at the end of the 16th turn, after any battles in this turn have resolved. Occupation of the Abraham zone at an earlier time is not a British victory. And the British also have to have a maximum of 20 CV remaining on the map board, but not all of those have to be on Abraham. And the French player wins if either the British player is unable to achieve this, or the British fall below 20 CV at any time in the game. Alrighty, we're here with Quebec 1759, and I've gone ahead and set it up. Before I begin, I'll just kind of give you guys a heads up. This is not a great game for solitaire play. With the hidden pieces, or the way you use the block type stuff, it's a little bit cumbersome on this Vassal module to play at solitaire and use that feature. So I'm not going to use it today. I'm more here to just kind of show you how the game runs in general. So we'll just have to kind of avoid that, which is too bad, because that's really the thing that makes this game great, is the fog of war aspects of it. But we'll go ahead and just kind of play it out here. Now, I've gone ahead and set everything up. The British start on the Ile-de-Orléans. Orleans, I hope I'm saying that right. My French pronunciation sucks, but... And the French are all north of the river here. So we will get started with turn 1. Let me pull up the turn track or turn order thing here. Where's it at? There it is, right there. Okay, so we got the turn. They're called campaign moves, I guess. I wish they'd use more standardized terms like turn, but that's okay. I think as the British player, my goal is going to be, I want to take out the Ottawa Indians. I think that's going to be the, they can create quite a bit of mischief if they're left unchecked. So we're going to try to take them, and to do so, I'm going to 2 units are kind of useful here. The Rangers and the let me find them here. I'm going to pop in just a little more. Well, that's a little too much. Let's put fit height. There we go. Much better. Hopefully you guys can see. Light infantry and the Rangers. So the Rangers I want to keep with 3 others. And I'm going to use this guy. Let's use a fairly strong unit. Let's take a detachment, a weak unit. And let's take another strong unit. And we're going to move them to Levis. Otherwise, I'm going to have to keep everybody else here. I can only move 4 because I got 4 ships here in the Vassal area. So we're going to move here. As the French, I think the most plausible thing to do would be to move and do a raid against the British here. So we're going to do that and that. So essentially this move by the British would be wasted because the Indians have left that, the Ottawas have. And then the Ottawas are going to do their thing, and then they're going to head clear off to, let's go up to St. Foy. So we will attack, and luckily I kept the light infantry with this British group here. So the light infantry they'll be able to fight back against the Ottawa. So we will roll. The Ottawa have 4 little squares here, and so they get double, but they double their attack. So they get an 8 to attack with, 8 die, and we roll, and 2 6s. And I think I'm going to take out this detachment, and we'll take out another detachment here. Now, before they run off, the light infantry gets 3 dice against them, and they get nothing, and then the Ottawa Indians head back to St. Foy. Okay, and that's that. And so that ends turn 1. We go to turn 2. At this point, I forgot one other thing here. We've moved into this area here. We've taken an area, and when we do that in the game, and the rules are a little unclear on this, every time we take an area, we lose one of the Quebec counters. So the French player will get to remove a Quebec counter. Let's find one here. There's one. Okay, we'll take it up at St. Foy. And I want to lose St. Foy. We'll keep it at... well, let's find one here that I want to lose. I guess we'll lose one here. Okay. And that would end turn 1. Now we go to turn 2. Gotta figure out what to do. But that coffee's good today. You'll hear me sipping on coffee while I'm doing this. Hopefully that's not too distracting. These guys are pretty weak right now. I think we're going to move our 5, and we'll move 4 across the river here. And I think the natives will make a raid. Let's try to weaken these guys up. So we're going to make a native raid here, and the British are going to be making their attack here. So French player decides to go first, or choose which battles they want to use. So we're just going to say, let's use this battle first. And again, it's going to be hop in, make an attack, and then hop back out to St. Foy. So we start with 8, and there's 3 6s. Oh, that really hurt. Okay, so we're going to go loose step, and loose step. Now, I don't remember in this game when you take off steps whether you take them off the highest units or not. Like a lot of these block games, you have to take off the... when you take damage, it has to come off the ones that have the most hit points, I guess. Okay, now these guys do have a Rangers with them for 2. And so they got nothing, so the Indians head back to St. Foy. Okay, up here, we do have we only have two French defenders, and so it's going to be a skirmish instead of a full-blown battle. So we can just line everybody up here. And since we're coming on as a in the first turn, since it's an amphibious assault, and it's the first turn, these guys are going to get, the French are going to get to defend double. So they're going to have 10 that they can defend with. So we're going to do 8, and we got a hit, and 2, which is nothing. So there. Now then the British are going to go, and they got 4, 7, or 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're going to go 8 with a hit, 4 with nothing, and 3 with nothing. So these guys take 1 hit. At this point, I think we'll retreat as the French. And the British will now control this area here, Beauport. So we will put a little, whoops, I guess I need to clone this guy. And we'll put a sticker here, and a Quebec will go. Let's see, Montreal, Quebec, okay. So he's gone. Okay, and that ends turn 2. We go to turn 3. This is a fast game, so should only be about probably half an hour to play at the rate I'm going. Okay, I think as a British move, I think the wise thing to do would be to come down here. As the native forces, I think it's definitely going to be right here to attack right there. So we'll do that, make our moves, and that will mean a clone here. And the natives are going to attack here. I've left these guys kind of open. So basically we just roll 8 and nothing. Okay, and then the natives are going to jump back. Into turn, we've had a third, we've taken a third region, so I'm going to say a third Quebec counter goes. Okay, and then we go to campaign 4, or turn 4, move 4, whatever you want to say. Okay, as the British, I think, now I've got a problem here, is that I could defend these guys here, but I'm going to lose forces down here. So I think we're going to move 1, 2, 3, and this 4, this light infantry. Okay, now they can fire back at the natives. And there's still 4 ships here, so that leaves this group down here. And then the natives are going to make, I was going to say they're going to make their attack. I was make it here against these guys. They get a hit, and the light infantry fires back with nothing on the natives. So the natives are going to jump back to St. Foy. Okay. And I'll just take this off the top. Okay. And that's the end of turn 4. We go to turn 5. This turn, I think I will move. Is there any units that are worth moving across here? We've got detachments. We're going to go here, and here, and here, and here. That's our 4. And again, we're going to have the Ottawas attack again down here. We'll just try to see what we can do, what damage we can do down here. So the Ottawas are going to fire with 8, and they get a hit. And I'll take that out of the detachment. And then the Rangers get 2 and nothing. And the Ottawa's moved back. Okay. And that ends the turn here. Okay. This turn, I think I'm going to move this big force here against them. Ottawas are going to attack down here again. No, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move 2 ships upriver, and the Ottawas will make their attack. Okay, so the Ottawas move in. They make their attack at 8, and we take 1 off the top. And the Rangers fire back and get nothing, and the Ottawa retreat. Okay, and we go to turn 7. Okay, want to remember my turns here. Going to move a ship upriver, and the Ottawas are going to make their attack again. Hopefully they can just use attrition. Okay, 8. We get 2 hits. Loose step and loose step. The Rangers fire back, and they get nothing. And that's the end of turn. We go to turn 8. And at this point, I think these guys are going to do this. The Ottawa will make their attack again. French get to choose which battles they want to fight first. I think we'll make our attack here first. So we got 8. No hits. The Rangers go with 2 and get nothing. Okay. Then we have a battle here. Now, this is the first real kind of big battle of the game where we're going to need a battle board. Good thing about these block games is once you kind of got them down, they don't change a lot. There's some minor changes you have to remember from system to system, but for the most part, they stay kind of the same. I'm going to leave these guys in reserve. As the British, and I'm just kind of trying to make it fairly randomized here so that, again, when you're playing with 2 players, it makes a lot more sense, but this is going to be a little tricky because I've got so many units here. I'm going to pull one of these 3s to reserve. Okay. And I think I'll pull this guy here. I want to try to, I guess the way that I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to keep them as even as possible. So, French are defending, so they get to fire 2. And nothing. Okay. And then the Montreal unit goes. Fires 2, nothing. And then this guy goes. And he gets a 6. So he can reduce one of these guys. Okay. And then the British go. And they've got 4, 5, 9. So we'll go 8. There's 3 hits and 1. And that'll eliminate this guy. Okay. Now, at this point, it would be a rout, but I think you finish these before you actually move on to the rout phase, because this is all simultaneous. So we're going to go 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 8 and 3. 8, there's 2 hits, and 3, there's 3 hits. So that's guy's eliminated. And then here I've got 3, 6, 9, 8, and 1, nothing. And at that point, they can either, well, they have to rout, I guess. The reserve unit will, there's a parting shot, but the reserve unit will take one of those damages away. Parting shot, this is going to be enough to easily take these guys out. 4, 8, 9, 13, 17, 20, 23, 26, 29. I'm just going to roll. Let's see. 8 and 8. There's 16, and that would be enough. So that kills him. Now in a rout, I think the reserve units have to pull back. So we're going to pull back to these guys. And the British take St. Charles. Like I said, this is going to be, I think the British are going to steamroller the French here. Okay, and then that's another region taken. So we're going to clone this guy and put him in St. Charles. And that's the end of turn. We go to turn 9. See, we're already, I'm 15 minutes in and I'm halfway through the game. Okay. I'm better off in and these guys actually are in Abraham here. I think at this point we're going to have to consolidate. So we're going to consolidate we got to take a Quebec unit away. Are there any Quebec units left? And I realized I played Wolf wrong in that last battle, so we'll play the leaders right. Okay, this he's killed because we took St. Charles. Okay. This turn, I think the French are going to move here. And the British are going to go ahead and make an attack on Abraham or on the city of Quebec. So yeah, let's go ahead and actually the British are going to try to make an amphibious assault here. So what would happen in this case is these guys would move out of this area and these guys would move in. So we avoid battle, but we do get the British get another region, so there you go. Hopefully I'm making sense here. Sometimes when I'm teaching these games, I don't feel like I make a lot of sense. Let's see. I say a lot too. That's the other thing about these videos. Okay, we got 1 Quebec left, so he's eliminated. And that ends turn 9. Turn 10. Gonna make a attack here to Cap Rouge. And I was going to say that the native units we're going to attack here. I'd say that would be probably what I would do is they would go to St. Boy here. They find nobody here, so they go back. And like I say, I could make like battle orders. There's the one thing nice about this Vassal Module is you can't actually have your orders here, but okay. So we come into this now. The British are going to be the attackers and the French are going to be the defenders. So let's go set our battle board up here. Yeah, okay. And like I said, I try to do it random without looking at it and thinking about it too much. But okay, French get to go first. So they roll 3 and they get a hit. They roll 1. And they don't get anything, and then they roll 2 and don't get anything. The British get a 1, nothing, a 3, nothing, and a 2, nothing. Okay. As the French player, I think I'm going to withdraw. Well, I'm going to lose Quebec either way, plus Montreal. Yeah, I think it's time to withdraw. So I'm going to withdraw back to here. And the British now have Cap Rouge. Okay, now that once they have Cap Rouge, they get another area that they conquer. So that's another Quebec unit gone. And every turn now they get a Montreal unit comes off. Or Trois-Rivières. Well, I think Trois-Rivières is going to go. As the French player, I think I would kill that one first because we want to try to keep Quebec. Okay. End of turn. Now, I don't think anything comes back. You just have to conquer it once before, if it's not going to change anything as far as those removing the Quebec counters. Okay. Next turn, I think we're going to move these guys into Quebec. And these guys are going to attack the natives. So we'll do that. And we make an attack against the natives. And I think the natives will retreat before combat. I think we'll just go ahead and do a retreat before combat. Oh, no, I'm going to go back here to Cap Rouge. Okay. And by doing that, we don't lose the Montreal unit, but we did take, and that's turn 12, or that was turn 11. We go to that's turn 12, so the Montreal one, we don't lose a Montreal, but we do lose a Quebec, if there's any left. None left, okay. So that's it. Okay, we're on turn 12. On turn 12, I think I'll move I can't go there. I think I'm going to go ahead and attack Quebec and see what happens. So hopefully I haven't lost track of turns here. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with playing solitaire like this. It's easy to lose track of where you're at with stuff. So we're going to take our toughest units and put them up here. And then I'm going to leave these two guys in reserve. Okay, the British go. And again, I'm going to just try to put my toughest units over here and in the front row. Now, the thing I've got to remember here is that this from St. Charles to the Field of Abraham is considered an amphibious assault. So these guys get double to make the attack. And I probably should have held off and tried to keep Montreal for a while, but that's okay. Keep I should have held off, garrisoned at St. Foy, and then taken a couple turns to knock these Montreal units out, but that's okay. Let's see. So let's start with this column attacks first, and these three are going to be 3, 6, 8, so 16. 2 hits, okay. And so for our 2 hits, we're going to take lose a step and lose a step. Here I've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 18. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 2. So it takes two hits. And then on this one, 3, 5, 7, 8, 16. 1, 2, 4 hits. Ouch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now the British get to go. And then Montcalm, he gets to roll 2. And he got a 3 and 6, so nothing. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and roll for Wolfe. I'll just start with him. 1 and 6, so nothing. But the British go with 3, 6, 9, 8, and 1. Nothing. Okay. 3, 6, 8. 3 hits. Okay. Loose step, and loose step. Okay, and then the British go with 6, and they get 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now the French get to go, and I'm going to bring a reserve in, and then they get to go with 3, 6, 7, 8, nothing, and then Montcalm goes, nothing. Okay, here they go 2, 4, 6. They get a hit, and then 2, 4, 6. Nothing. Okay, the British get to go. We'll start with Wolfe. He gets nothing. 3, 6. I'm just going to say Wolfe's in this column over here. 9. Okay, 8 and 1. Nothing. Okay, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3 and 4. They get a hit. And then 1, 3, 6. Nothing. Okay. We go to the next combat round. I think I'll bring these guys in, this reserve. French go 3, 6, 8. Gets a hit. Here we've got, and our Montcalm goes, nothing. So now 7, 3, and 4. 2 hits against the Brits. And then here we've got 2, 4, 6. And they get 1 hit against the Brits. Okay, Brits go with 3, 6, 7, 8. They get 2 hits. Here we've got 2, 4, 5. 1 hit. And here we've got 2, 4, 5. 1 hit. Okay, now the French get to go. They got 6. They take a hit for the Brits. Montcalm goes. Nothing. Okay. Oh, I forgot Wolf going. That's okay. We'll just 2, 4, or 5 from the French to the Brits. Okay, here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they get 1 hit on the Brits. Okay, British get to go. And the question is, do I keep fighting or do I pull back? Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna still be able to I'm still outnumbered the French. It's going to be tough, but I think I can do it. The other question is, I've got 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I do have enough. I wanted to make sure I'm not below 20 units. So, because once I get below 20, I lose the game. Okay, British will go again. One more turn. 3, 7. Okay, so 3 and 4. 3 and 4 makes a hit. And Wolf gets to try his, he goes. Okay, and then 2, 4, 5. 1 hit. 4. 2 hits. Okay. Oops. Get rid of these guys. Okie dokie. French get to go. They've got 5. And then Montcalm, nothing. Okay, and then here we've got in the middle column 4. It's a hit. And then here we've got 1, 2, 3. 2 hits. Ooh. Okay. Brits will go one more turn. Makes 2 hits. Wolf will go. Oh, Wolf died. But he gave him 2 hits. So we're going to go kill this guy and lose a step. And we eliminate Wolf. Okay, that's that column. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2 6s. So things are starting to get real here. And then 2, nothing. Okay, French get to go. All the French can really do is just try to hang on. Can't do much else. So let's go with 1. First of all, 1. And that's a hit. Montcalm goes. Nothing. Okay. French go here with 2. They get a 6, so that's a lose a step. And then here they go with 3. British lose a step here. Okay. Whoops. British, what can you do? I think we're running pretty low, but we can still try. Let's try one more shot here. 6. Actually, I might pull back. I'm gonna retreat as the British here. And we need to check victory conditions, because... So yeah, I think a retreat would be the thing to do at this point. If the British are below 20, they've lost the game, which could very well happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Oh, here, 20, 21, 22. Okay. They're able to hold in. And that will be the end of turn 12. We go to turn 13. At this point, I think the British will have to make their attack here. I think as the French, I'm going to move the Indian units in here, and we will make another. This will probably be the last. This will be the last big attack of the game. So let's set up the defenders first, and those are the French units. Let's move this guy and this guy. Get those out of the way. Let's start with our best British units, and we'll start here, here, and here. Actually, the French would set up first, but since I'm playing solitaire, let's see, there's 5, there's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll go 5 there. We'll try to even these guys out, and we'll put this guy in reserve, and then the natives have to be in reserve, and we'll do the same kind of setup for the French here. I don't think the French don't have anybody with 2 CVs left, so, and the British would have probably been better taking Saint Foy, but that's okay. And we'll just go here. Okay. French get to go first since they're the defender, and they get 2 die here with a 1 and a 6, so that's lose a step, and then Montcalm goes and gets nothing. Okay, and then 2 here, 3 and 5, and then 2 for that third column. Nothing. Okay, British go with 4, 2 6s. So that's going to be a kill, a kill. Here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 6s. So that's them and them. And then here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 1 6. I'm routed, so basically these guys are the British are going to get to fire once. They're going to, and we get to take 1 6 off, 2 6s off because of the Ottawa Indians, because it counts as 2 points. For every 2 CV that you have, that reduces any 6 you rolled on that parting fire. So we're going to roll 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't think the reserve participates, so we're going to roll 14 die, and that's going to be an 8 of an 8, a 4, and a 2. An 8, there's 2, a 4, and a 2. So I had 3 hits, and 2 of those hits are going to be eliminated because of the Ottawa Indians. So that leaves 1 hit, and that kills him, leaving only the Ottawa and Montcalm left. And that will be the game, because basically these guys are now in Quebec. And and the British win it. So that's pretty much it. Overall, I think this is an interesting game. It was really pretty revolutionary when it came out, 1972, and it really went against how most other war games ran the games. The mechanisms were so much different, I guess. The map also is kind of interesting because it's a long, narrow map you can see, and I think the artwork is really kind of cool. It's kind of 70-ish looking, but I think it's still pretty cool. The way they did it, it's again very different has the zones and everything. But anyway, I kind of like the game. I sit down and play it, and like I say, the other thing nice about it is it plays pretty short. As I get older, I really kind of like these short games. Just wish there was more people around to play them with, but that's how life works. Anyway, that's what I've got this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and we will talk to you later. Bye.